Welcome to the Nordic Venture Show, your speed date with the hottest Nordic innovations and ventures. In this episode, our venture date is with Basemark.
All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at the software that's shaping the future of driving.
Yeah, the stuff that's under the hood, so to speak, of all those cool new cars we're seeing.
And that's both literally and figuratively right, because we're going to be talking about a company called Basemark, a company that's creating some pretty interesting tools and technologies.
Basemark, yeah. Been digging through their website quite a bit. Lots to unpack there.
Exactly. And that's our mission today, isn't it? To really understand what Basemark is doing and how they fit into the bigger picture.
The future of driving, yeah. Particularly, they seem to be focusing on a couple of key areas. One is augmented reality for drivers. The other is, well, the processing power that makes it all possible.
The horsepower of the digital age. Those automotive songs we hear so much about. So before we get lost in the tech weeds,
Which we will.
let's start with the basics. Who is Basemark? Where do they come from?
Well, they're a Finnish company, founded back in 2015, April 2015 to be precise. And they've got a global footprint already, subsidiaries in the US and Germany. And it's interesting, they're privately held.
Not a publicly traded behemoth.
Nope. Founders, key employees, and some angel investors. Seems like they want to maintain a certain level of control, focus on their vision.
Which makes sense, given the kind of cutting-edge stuff they're involved in. So you mentioned two main areas of specialization, augmented reality and those SOSs.
Right. On the AR front, think about those advanced automotive applications we're starting to see. AR navigation systems, head-up displays that are basically becoming interactive windows onto the road.
That sounds more like science fiction than reality.
It's getting there.
Yeah.
And that's where Basemark comes in. They're developing the software and the tools that make those AR experiences possible. And on the SOC side, well, they're the brains of the operation. All the advanced features, the driver assistance systems, the entertainment, the connectivity, it all runs on those chips.
And Basemark provides the tools to evaluate those chips, make sure they're up to snuff.
Precisely. But let's delve a bit deeper into the augmented reality side. Basemark has this core product, rock-solid AR, just the name itself.
Suggests a certain level of robustness
Yeah.
and reliability, I'd imagine, which is crucial when you're dealing with driver safety.
Exactly, and that's the whole point of rock-solid AR, to enhance safety but also make driving more intuitive, more responsive. They do that by overlaying real-time information, contextually relevant information, directly in the driver's field of view.
So instead of glancing down at a map or a dashboard, you're getting the information projected right onto your windshield, basically.
Yeah, think of it as an augmented layer on top of reality.
Mm.
And they've got some really interesting features. AR lane departure warnings, so you get a visual alert if you start drifting. Collision warnings, highlighting potential hazards, even night vision assistance, where crucial information is overlaid on a low visibility scene.
I can see how that would be incredibly helpful, especially in challenging conditions.
Absolutely. And then there's the AR lane guidance for navigation. Basically, the road ahead becomes your map. And they're working on AR for points of interest, arrival experiences at your destination, even displaying street names as overlays.
It's like your car is becoming this intelligent co-pilot guiding you through the world.
In a way, yeah. And what's really impressive is that rock-solid AR is designed to work across a wide range of displays, from the traditional HUDs and instrument clusters to infotainment screens, rear seat entertainment, even e-mirrors.
And potentially AR glasses for drivers down the line.
Right, they're thinking ahead. But here's the thing, implementing AR in a moving vehicle at speed, that's not easy. There's some serious technical challenges.
Yeah, I can imagine. The car is bouncing around, the environment is changing rapidly. How do you make sure the AR elements stay accurate and don't make people sick?
You hit the nail on the head. Latency is a huge factor. Any delay between what's happening in the real world and what you see in the AR overlay can cause disorientation, even nausea. Rock-solid AR is all about minimizing that latency.
So it's not just about the visuals, it's about the speed and responsiveness of the system.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole issue of localization and motion tracking. The AR elements have to be precisely anchored to the physical world. Even a slight misalignment can make it feel jarring, unrealistic.
And potentially dangerous if it throws off your perception of the road.
Right. So rock-solid AR uses advanced 6 degrees of freedom tracking. They call it 6DO, which means it's not just tracking the car's position. It's accounting for all its movements, pitch, yaw, roll, everything.
Like a super precise gyroscope for the AR world.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you have the challenge of occlusion management. What happens when an AR element, like a navigation arrow, blocks your view of something important?
Like a pedestrian crossing the street or a stop sign.
Exactly. Rock-solid AR uses some pretty sophisticated techniques to make sure the AR content blends naturally with the environment, enhancing the experience without obscuring critical, real-world cues.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? Providing information without overloading the driver.
Right. So how does all this actually work? Well, rock-solid AR has two main components. AR Studio, which is where developers design and test their applications.
It's like a specialized workshop for building AR experiences.
Yeah, and they've made it pretty user-friendly. Visual low-code editor, they call it, and allows developers to integrate all sorts of data. Vehicle data, navigation data, everything needed to make the AR contextually relevant.
So it's not just about slapping some graphics on the windshield. It's about making them meaningful, connected to what the car is actually doing.
Exactly. And then you have the AR engine, which is the runtime component. This is the brains of the operation, handling all the heavy lifting, the latency optimization, the mixed reality scene generation, the localization, the stabilization.
The conductor of the AR orchestra, making sure everything plays in sync.
That's a good analogy. And it's clear that this technology is not just some theoretical concept. They already need some major real-world implementations.
Like their collaboration with BMW did.
Right. BMW has been using Basemark's tech since 2021, integrating AR features into their vehicles. And that's not just a small pilot program. This is going into production cars, aimed at improving the driving experience, comfort, safety.
And it's a sign that a major car manufacturer sees the value in this technology, believes in its potential.
Absolutely. And Basemark isn't just sitting on their laurels. They're actively expanding their AR capabilities. Back in March 2025, they brought in the founders and key team members from Appostra.
Another company working in the AR space.
Yeah, specialized in automotive AR. So this was a strategic move to really beef up their expertise, accelerate their innovation.
And they're building partnerships as well.
Right. Panasonic Automotive Systems Europe joined their AR ecosystem in late 2024. So they're not just developing tech in a vacuum. They're working with other players in the automotive industry.
It's an ecosystem, as you said. But let's shift gears a bit now and talk about their other major offering, BATS. What is it and why is it so important in the automotive world?
BATS stands for Basemark Automotive Test Suite. And it's a tool, a professional-grade tool, designed to evaluate the performance of automotive SoCs. Those chips we were talking about earlier.
The ones that are becoming increasingly powerful and complex.
Exactly. And that's why BATS is so important. It gives car makers and their suppliers a way to objectively measure the performance of these chips, identify potential bottlenecks early on in the development process.
So you don't end up with a fancy new car that stutters and lags when you try to use all its features.
Precisely. And BATS covers a lot of ground. It tests computer vision tasks, digital instrument cluster rendering, in-vehicle infotainment functions, and you can run multiple tests concurrently across different displays.
So you're not just testing individual components in isolation, you're simulating real-world usage.
That's the key. And then there's the what-if scenario testing. This allows companies to assess whether a particular SoC will be powerful enough to support features that are still on the drawing board.
So they can future-proof their technology choices to some extent.
Right. And who uses BATS? Well, the automotive OEMs, the car makers themselves, of course, but also the chip manufacturers, the silicon IP companies, the Tier 1 suppliers.
So pretty much everyone involved in the development and integration of these complex systems.
Yeah, because they all have a stake in making sure the technology works as intended.
Yeah.
And BATS can demonstrate some pretty realistic operational scenarios. Simultaneous operation of multiple displays, camera feeds, algorithms, even whether a single SoC can handle both HMI functions and AS, advanced driver assistance systems.
Which is becoming a crucial question as these systems become more integrated.
Right. And BAT was 1.0, which is the current version, includes the orchestrator, which is the configuration application for the tests.
The control panel, so to speak.
Yeah. And then the test suites themselves, covering machine vision, instrument clusters, head unit IVI systems, all very targeted and specific.
And there are some technical requirements, right? The target hardware has to meet certain standards.
Yeah, it needs compliant support for a bunch of graphics and compute APIs. OpenGL, ES, Vulkan, OpenGL SC, OpenCV, OpenCL. The list goes on. But Basemark provides the source code, the binaries, everything needed to run the tests on Android and Linux.
So they've made it as accessible as possible for the industry to adopt. But zooming out a bit, what's Basemark's overall impact on the automotive landscape? They're clearly more than just a software vendor.
Right. They're positioning themselves as a leader in automotive AR and 8S visualizations. And they're not just providing products. They're offering professional services, helping OEMs and Tier 1 suppliers with development.
So they're consultants, collaborators, partners in innovation.
Exactly. And they're bringing experience from other demanding fields. They've worked on benchmarking, graphics, compute solutions for autonomous driving systems. So they understand the complexities of embedded and mission-critical applications.
And they're building a strong network of partnerships.
Yeah, we talked about Panasonic. But they're also working with Bosch, Ultraleap, Luxoft, FIC. They aren't trying to do everything themselves. They're weaving themselves into the fabric of the industry.
And there's that Lamborghini quote, which really stood out in the material we've gathered.
Right. Lamborghini praising Basemark's innovative approach, their ability to demonstrate the integration of complex systems.
Yeah.
And that's not just marketing fluff. That's a real-world customer acknowledging the value Basemark brings.
A high-performance brand like Lamborghini doesn't throw around praise lightly.
No, they don't. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say Basemark is playing a pivotal role in shaping the future of driving. On the one hand, they're enhancing the driving experience with augmented reality, making it safer, more intuitive, more enjoyable.
And on the other hand, they're making sure the underlying technology, those powerful SoCs, are up to the task.
Exactly. Rigorously testing them, helping companies make informed decisions. And it makes you wonder, what other innovations are just around the corner? What other software solutions will emerge to further revolutionize how we drive, how we interact with our vehicles?
It's an exciting time to be following this industry, that's for sure. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure. It's been a fascinating exploration.
And for our listeners, keep your eyes on the road, but also keep an eye on the software that's driving the future.
Yeah, that's where the real magic is happening.
Until next time, happy driving.
And safe travels, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.